I love just arriving in the scene of the crime with this historic match with like a 16-17 core spirit dancer. Lots of other stuff going on there. But we are back in standard here for the conclusion of our Swiss rounds. A quick mulligan from Ueda.
The perfect mulligan. 5 lands, Gutter Bones, Spawn of Mayhem, into 3 lands, 2 Gutter Bones, Spawn of Mayhem.
It's the second Gutter Bones that gets you, Emma.
Oh, I love the second Savannah Lions. It literally is the thing that fixes it from an unkeepable 7 to the perfect 6.
And honestly, this is one of the most aggressive starts that this mono black aggro deck, that's the name, that this deck is capable of.
Yeah, and Nicholas King's main deck is not prepared to fight this.
Right, Nicholas King has to shock in Hallowed Fountain to play Teferi Time Raveler just to delay that spawn for a turn. But now we get to kill Teferi, send Ueda down to 10, and then replay a Spawn of Mayhem, as well as that Knight of the Ebon Legion, which will even get a counter to boot. Or maybe not, excuse me, because we killed Teferi instead. But either way, a formidable offense here from Ueda.
Yeah, this is threatening lethal right now if King doesn't have something like a Brazen Bar or a Shark Typhoon to get in the way of these creatures.
Yeah, I almost wonder if killing Teferi was worth it there. Knowing how much of a clock you have, the difference between another power on the Knight and another 2 damage up towards King may be a big deal here.
Yeah, it literally would have been the difference between having Ueda at 8 life with 8 damage coming across or not.
Yeah, and Ueda still looks to be in perfectly fine shape this game. But if King can crawl back into it, I think he'll look back on that turn where it feels automatic, right? Of course, he just finished off the Planeswalker. It feels effectively free. But I think this is one of those situations on the margins where it does make the difference.
And it may be the type of situation where Ueda is just trying to avoid the nightmare scenarios, right? There's a point where in those games of margins, you can also point back to the spot where you let Teferi stick around for exactly 1 turn. And that's all it took for Teferi to get up to 3. And all of a sudden, 1 Gutter Bones isn't enough to go after it. And then from there, it gets to unsummon another card and so on and so forth. And that's where the real problem can be a lot of the time. So I think just going after the card while it's sort of free there is not quite as indefensible as it sounds.
Yeah, you want to avoid something like a turn where if King can survive long enough, let's say he casts Uro, then he escapes Uro, and that's 6 life back, and now he's threatening to block your biggest attacker, and that's how he starts to crawl back into this game. But we'll see if Ueda can just finish the job here anyway.
Yeah, this is 6 power on the battlefield.
It's on you, Nicholas King. What have you got?
All right, well.
We got a game 2, is what it sounds like.
Oh, it's what it looks like too. Wataru Ueda is going to take game 1. 1 game away from locking up this top 8 berth.
And as we highlighted before when we featured Ueda, Agonizing Remorse, a fine card against Reclamation, nothing else really gets the job done here, so very minimal adjustments for Ueda. And then on Nicholas King's side, you're always keen to see exactly what mix of sweepers and removal and so on they have access to. And taking a look at Nicholas King's deck, we see your A Devout Decree, A Justice Strike, A Deafening Clarion. But as we saw before when we featured Nicholas King, 2 copies of Shadow the Sky, which is actually the perfect sweeper against this mono black deck where, Hunted Nightmare, very good at getting around Solar Blaze, still bites the dust to a Shadow the Sky, even if it's giving you a card back.
Yeah, having Shadow the Sky rather than something like Solar Blades is huge. We saw this come up multiple times in the Players' Tour finals where Solar Blaze didn't kill Hunted Nightmare, didn't kill Knight of the Ebon Legion, didn't kill Murderous Rider, and so on.
And Ueda, 1 game away from a top 8 berth. We've seen them cleave through this field with mono black aggro. And validating that choice by Riku Kumagai that looked like genius for that Players' Tour finals. The question was, in a more open and diverse field, would mono black still stand the test of time? Looks like the answer could be yes.
Yeah, what if you ask Ueda? What do you think they're going to say to you?
I think they're going to say no to this hand, and sure enough.
Oh, no.
I think no to this one, too.
Okay, this is 5 good ones. Like, this is a reasonable low resource hand.
hey, we can cast all of these cards. We get to disrupt Nicholas King twice. And oh, look at that. Knight of the Ebon Legion. We're casting 3 cards in the first 2 turns. We're emptying our hand.
Yeah, this is actually the mana-efficient draw that you need to be able to have if you're going to be mulliganing as low as Ueda was forced to.
And hey, in 5 turns' time, we've got that Castle Lochthwain to get back in the game. Rose Power in response to duress, and this game might actually go on for that long now. We see Teferi Time Raveler, Justice Strike, and Deafening Clarion all appealing targets to take now.
And here it actually
Decides
looks
to go
like
with Teferi.
Ueda is going to try and snipe that copy of Deafening Clarion with this Agonizing Remorse.
Punch in for 2 damage first, and then yeah, we announce our Agonizing Remorse. Can you afford to Justice Strike this Gutterbones in response?
That might just be better than doing Deafening Clarion.
Well, there's another sweeper in the form of Shadow the Sky.
And this is just the plan for this Reclamation deck, is you end up with such an incredible redundancy once you've sideboarded all of your bad cards out, that you've just got to feel invincible against these creature decks.
Yeah, but look at this though. If we take Shadow the Sky, if we draw a 4th land, Knight of the Ebon Legion with 3 mana up, if we can force King to use Justice Strike and Deafening Clarion to get through those, then suddenly we're kind of at parity again, almost.
Yeah, there's a certain level where the number of 2-for-1s that King would have to just hang with all of these recursive black threats, it almost undoes the mulligan, or puts King on one, depending on how you measure it.
And there's another piece of disruption there in Kai'Sa Freebooter as well.
Wait. This is so good against Justice Strike.
It sure is.
You just take the Deafening Clarion and it paves the way for this knight.
Ooh, but there's Wilderness Reclamation. No immediate payoff for that one, though.
Yeah, this is a spot where we've seen Ueda do it a couple of times this tournament, where you take the action, leave them with the Wilderness Reclamation. If they don't have a Castle Vantress, you just kick their teeth down their throat before they get to do anything.
And yeah, there's the Wilderness Reclamation, but have we found something to go with it?
Uh-oh, floated a mana.
Are we going to QQ here?
What do you got, King? Show us.
This is a big moment in this game. Potentially a big moment in this tournament.
And this may be a spot where King is weighing how big does the token from a Shark Typhoon need to be? Do you go for the high score on something like an Expansion Explosion? Or do you just pass the turn?
Looks like we're just passing the turn. Maybe just trying to get into Nicholas King's head a little bit here. Or maybe trying to ambush one of these creatures in combat if it is a Shark Typhoon. But we are shoving on this Knight of the Ebon Legion, which now is vulnerable to Justice Strike.
Oh, wow, what a beat. That's so brutal.
Yeah, I wonder if a way to just...
It's possible Ueda just wanted to force the trade there.
It could be, and that Justice Strike can always just deal with the Gutterbones, but then that one can at least recover itself, whereas Knight of the Ebon Legion is a premium threat that we'd rather not see killed that way. But there's another Knight of the Ebon Legion, and when you are almost flooding out, despite the mulligan to 5, Knight is a very good draw.
Yeah, and the fact that Ueda has a castle and King doesn't is going to define this game.
Oh, Mystical Dispute on Knight of the Ebon Legion. And a second one. Okay, well that is a way to deal with it, but we still have a 2-turn clock now on Nicholas King. He's going to have to come up with something. Temple Garden isn't it. He is in check. And another Knight of the Ebon Legion. So even a card like Deafening Clarion would not get the job done.
All right, what is it, King? What you got?
Recycle of Triumph. We've got another look at it.
And that's gonna do it!
Wow, Wataru Ueda on a mulligan to 5 dispatches Nicholas King, making